They say the desert doesn't forget. Everything you bury under the sand, secrets, voices, bodies eventually comes back. Omar didn't believe that, not really. He believed in footage, in facts, in views. That's what brought him to the edge of the abandoned village of Al-Balad, a forgotten ghost town just outside Jeddah. It wasn't on most maps anymore, but in niche forums, especially in the Arabic urban exploration scene, it had become a legend. Because of the well. They called it the Wailing Well. No one knew who built it, but locals said strange sounds echoed from its depths at night, whispers, sobs, sometimes even a woman screaming. Most believed it was just wind or superstition. But one thing was clear. Every explorer who had tried to record the sounds had vanished, or stopped speaking altogether. Omar ran a small but growing horror exploration YouTube channel. He specialized in going to off-limits places, filming short haunted location videos, and uploading at night. He had heard about Al-Balad from a friend in Riyadh who warned him not to go. That well, his friend had said over voice message, "It doesn't take kindly to microphones." That only made Omar more curious. He planned it all out. He would drive there at night, park outside the ruins, and walk in alone. He had his DSLR, GoPro, flashlight, drone, and one special piece of equipment, a lav mic attached to a 20-meter cord, designed to be lowered straight into the well. No one had done that before. The village ruins were colder than expected. The buildings, once beige and sun-dried, were collapsing slowly into dust. Palm trees bent like they were bowing away from something. Omar passed rusted doors that hung open like broken mouths. There was no wind. He found the well in the middle of the square. It didn't look cursed, just a stone circle with old rope marks on its edge. But when Omar leaned over and shone his light down, he saw nothing. No water, no walls, just endless black, like looking into a tunnel that led into space. He set up the camera. "Hey, record. This is Omar." July 12th. Location, Al-Balad, abandoned village. I'm standing in front of the infamous Wailing Well. I'm going to drop this mic down. Let's find out what it's been hiding. He carefully lowered the mic. 10 meters, 15.20. It didn't touch the bottom, but his recorder was picking up something. Not wind, not echoes. It was soft at first, like a distant cough. Then it grew louder. A kind of wet, dragging sound, mixed with faint whispers in a language Omar didn't understand. Then he heard a woman say, crystal clear, "Come closer." He froze. The voice had not come from the recorder. It had come from behind him. Omar spun around. Nothing. Just broken houses and shadows. He laughed nervously, brushing it off. Maybe it was his headset. Maybe his mind was messing with him. He took a deep breath, hit stop, and pulled the mic back up. But when he checked the recording on his laptop, the file was corrupted. Not fully gone, just static at first. Then black screen with 1 second of glitchy audio at the end. A scream that didn't sound human. Distorted low. Something like teeth grinding inside a throat. He decided to head home fast. The next day, Omar uploaded the footage anyway. He trimmed it down, removed the corrupted parts, and added a voiceover. "I couldn't retrieve the full audio," he said in the video, "but I will go back, next time with better gear." The video blew up. Comments poured in. Why is the shadow behind him moving? Did anyone else hear a child laughing at 6:47? Bro, don't go back. Whatever that was, it followed you. At first, Omar laughed it off. But then things started happening. His mic started recording while unplugged. He would wake up to audio files saved on his desktop, files he never opened, all labeled with a date from 40 years ago. In one of them, he heard his own voice, describing the well, but older and slower, as if from the future. That's when he called his friend again. "I think something's wrong with me, man," he said. Like, it didn't want to be recorded, but now it's trying to speak through me. There was silence on the other end of the call. Then a reply. "Who is this?" Omar died 2 nights ago in the desert. His car was found at Al-Balad. Click. The call ended, and on his screen, the same audio file reopened by itself. Only this time, the voice, and it wasn't his anymore. Omar didn't remember falling asleep that night. He only remembered blinking and then waking up on the floor next to his desk, his laptop open. Another file had appeared. No name, just a blinking cursor on the screen. He clicked it. At first, silence. Then a voice that wasn't his, deeper, colder, slightly warped, began to speak in Arabic, but reversed. When he played it backwards, it translated to, "The well does not take, it trades. You dropped your voice into it, now it sends others in return." Omar sat frozen. His throat felt tight, as if someone had wrapped fingers around it from the inside. The next night, he tried deleting the file. It wouldn't go. He disconnected the laptop from Wi-Fi. It still re-downloaded itself after every shutdown. Even worse, his reflection on the screen started lagging behind. He went back to Al-Balad, not to film, just to see, maybe to apologize. But when he reached the village square, the well was gone. It wasn't filled in. It wasn't collapsed. It simply wasn't there. Just dry ground where the stone circle used to be. He thought maybe he'd lost the spot. Walked in circles, checked his GPS history. Still, the location was correct, but the well had vanished. Omar left in a panic. That night, as he sat in silence at home, his doorbell rang. When he opened it, a hard drive was sitting on the ground. No label. No. He plugged it in. Dozens of video files popped up. Raw footage. Not his. They were from other explorers. Faces he recognized from YouTube, some who had gone silent years ago. Men and women who had vanished, quit, or disappeared from the internet. One of them, a Dutch vlogger named Simon, was last seen in 2019. In the final clip from Simon's folder, he was sitting next to the well, smiling, before saying, "You don't need to go down it. You just have to listen long enough." Then the video glitched. His face twisted. His mouth widened unnaturally, and then the frame froze. Omar unplugged the hard drive immediately, but his speakers didn't stop playing. The next morning, Omar was muted, not like laryngitis or illness. No pain, just a silence. He opened his mouth, nothing, not even breath. He tried recording his voice on the mic. The waveform showed activity, but when played back, all he heard was that same deep reverse voice. You traded what was never yours to offer. He typed messages to friends. They didn't respond. He tried visiting them in person. No one saw him. Literally, they walked right past him, like he wasn't there. He stood in the middle of traffic. Cars veered slightly, but no one honked. No one reacted. No one screamed. That night, in desperation, he stared into the mirror and asked himself the one question he had avoided since the beginning. Did I leave something behind in the well? Or did something follow me out? Omar was never seen again after that week. His channel remained active, with scheduled posts continuing for 2 more weeks. Then one final video was uploaded, one he didn't schedule. No title, just a thumbnail showing the dry village square. The footage begins with the camera approaching the empty patch of dirt where the well used to be. A low wind howls, static crackles, and then slowly a circle of stone starts reappearing on the ground, piece by piece. The very last frame zooms in on the center of the well, and for just 1 second, if you pause it, you can see Omar, his face, far below, staring up, mouth open, reaching. The video has no audio, just a text overlay. He listened too long. Most people who find a strange stairway in the forest ask the questions: who built it, and where does it go? But the smarter ones turn around and walk away. Daniel was not one of those people. He was a Romanian-American wildlife researcher visiting his grandparents' village near the Carpathian Mountains. The plan was to relax, enjoy some time off the grid, and maybe record some nature footage for his documentary. But after just 2 days in the quiet village, the locals had already started whispering about the scar in the earth. It was only the 3rd evening when an old man outside the corner shop muttered, "Something strange. Don't follow the stairs, boy. They don't go down, they go under." Daniel didn't understand. He asked what the man meant, but the old man simply spat on the ground and walked away. That night, curiosity got the better of him. Daniel asked his grandmother about it, and her face turned pale. She made him swear not to go into the woods alone. "There are places older than roads," she said, lighting a candle. "Some paths were never meant for us." But of course, he went anyway. Armed with his camera, headlamp, and GPS, Daniel left before sunrise and followed a rough map drawn by a local teen who said he'd once seen the stairs but ran before reaching them. It took Daniel 5 hours of hiking, but just before noon, he found them. The forest went quiet. No birds. No wind. No bugs. And there they were, a set of stone steps carved into the earth leading down into darkness. They weren't part of any ruin. They didn't seem ancient or modern, just wrong. There were no markings, no handrails, just a perfect spiral staircase that descended below the forest floor. Like the forest had tried to grow over something but gave up. Daniel turned on his camera. "This is incredible," he whispered, excitement in his voice. "There's no structure, no signs of recent excavation. It's like the stairs are just part of the earth itself." He stepped down. The air changed after the 5th step, colder, heavier, like breathing through wet cloth. He continued downward. The further he went, the more unnatural the steps began to feel, not broken or worn, just oddly spaced, slightly too narrow, then suddenly too wide, as if the stairs hadn't been made for human feet. He paused to check his GPS. No signal. The last reading showed he was still on the surface. He should have turned back, but he was a scientist. That's what he told himself. This was a chance to find something undocumented. He reached the bottom after 39 steps. He counted. He was sure. At the base was a flat dirt floor, surrounded by stone walls. It wasn't a room. Exactly, it felt more like a buried courtyard, circular, with no ceiling. At its center was a hole about the size of a manhole cover, surrounded by bones. Small ones, too small. He approached the hole, then he heard something. It was coming from the opening. Not a voice, not an animal, just a sound like 1,000 tiny mouths smacking wet lips. He leaned in. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his ankle. Daniel screamed and jumped back, nearly falling onto the bones. There was no one there. He swung his light around the circle. Empty. He looked down at his ankle. No blood, no bruises, but clear dirt marks as if something had gripped him tightly with thin, bony fingers. He turned and ran. The stairs seemed longer on the way back. He counted again, this time 54 steps, and they didn't spiral the same way they twisted upward like climbing the inside of a seashell. When he finally emerged into the daylight, it was nearly sunset. He should have been gone only 30 minutes, but his watch said 4 hours had passed. His camera dead, his phone glitched, with the date stuck on September 13th, 1883. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. The forest felt too loud now, the village too quiet. When he finally checked the SD card in his camera, there was one file. No video, just audio. He played it. A voice, layered with static, whispered, "The stairs count you every time. And when you reach the number they like, they keep you." He tried deleting the file. It came back with a new name, 41. Daniel left the village the next morning without telling anyone. He packed in silence, refused breakfast, and didn't even say goodbye to his grandmother. He booked an early train out of Cluj and kept checking over his shoulder every few minutes. He told himself it was just paranoia, sleep deprivation. But deep inside, he knew something had changed. The stairs weren't just some old relic or a forgotten ruin. They had noticed him. Back in the U.S., Daniel avoided unpacking for days. His hiking gear stayed in the corner, still coated in Romanian soil. Every time he passed it, he felt a cold weight settle in his chest. But he couldn't resist checking the SD card again. This time, there were 3 new files. All audio, all named with odd numbers -43, 45, 47. He played one static, Then a voice, his voice, but distorted, breathing heavily, whispering, "Another step. You took another step. They know now. They're counting for you." He yanked the headphones out. He hadn't been back to the stairs. He hadn't gone down again, but the files kept appearing, almost like a countdown, or maybe a step count. Was he going down, even when he wasn't moving? At night, Daniel began hearing things. Not inside his house, underneath it, soft scraping, like stone on stone. He'd lie awake, frozen, listening to what sounded like bare feet climbing steps beneath his bedroom floor. Sometimes, the noise would stop directly below him. Sometimes, it would go back down. The next morning, a note appeared on his mirror, written in what looked like dirt or ash. "How many steps do you think are left?" He contacted a folklorist from a nearby university, someone who'd studied pre-Christian Romanian myths. When Daniel described the stairs, the folklorist went quiet. Then he said, "Carefully, you found a trepomorchi, death staircase. They exist in old beliefs, long before the church came, places where the earth thins. You don't walk down them, you get measured, and if your number fits." Daniel interrupted. "What number?" The folklorist hesitated. 49. Daniel felt sick. That night, he recorded himself sleeping. He left the camera on a tripod across the room, pointed at his bed. In the morning, the footage showed him sleepwalking, standing in the middle of his room, eyes open, completely still, for over an hour. And then, at 4:49 a.m., he turned to face the camera, smiled, and whispered, 48. He had no memory of it that evening. He called the folklorist back, but the number was disconnected. He tried emailing. The reply came back instantly, but it wasn't a normal message, just a subject line. "The final step is always taken alone." The last time anyone saw Daniel was in a live stream on his private channel. He didn't speak. He just walked through a thick pine forest, breathing heavily, for almost an hour. The stream showed nothing but trees and silence, until he stopped. The camera panned down. There they were, the stone steps waiting. He turned it toward his face one last time. He was crying. Then he whispered, 49, and stepped down. The live stream stayed on for 3 more hours. No sound. Just the camera sitting at the edge of the stairway. Some viewers claimed they heard faint footsteps after R2. Others said if you turned the volume up high enough, you could hear a voice saying, "Now it begins again." No one has found those stairs since. But if you ever go deep enough into certain Romanian forests and the birds go quiet and the air feels wrong, don't count your steps. Don't look down. And whatever you do, don't go looking for number 50. You've probably seen the pictures of Qasr al-Farid online. That massive sandstone tomb carved into a single rock, standing alone in the desert like a giant monument to silence. What you don't see in the photos are the rooms beneath it, because officially, they don't exist, at least. That's what the Saudi authorities say. No tunnels, no chambers, just an unfinished Nabatean tomb. But I met someone who went inside. He wishes he hadn't. His name was Omar, a freelance archaeological photographer from Jordan in 2018. He was hired by a European history magazine to photograph ancient sites across the Middle East. Most of the locations were accessible, documented, and completely safe. But Qasr al-Farid was different. Locals refused to go near it after sundown. One guy told Omar, "The tomb's not haunted, it's hungry." Omar laughed it off. He had permission, a camera, gear, and a deadline. He arrived at Madain Salat just before evening. The sun was low, the sky glowing red. He set up his drone, took wide shots of the area, then got closer to the tomb. He noticed something strange almost immediately. There were scratch marks, deep grooves near the base of the monument. Not erosion, not vandalism. They looked like something inside had tried to claw its way out. The front of the tomb was smooth and iconic, but as he walked around the side, his foot sunk into sand. He kicked at it, brushing away layers of desert dust, and found a small rectangular opening in the ground, barely visible, covered up. A tunnel. It sloped downward under the monument, leading in the darkness. No ropes, no warning signs, no official markings. He radioed the local guard. No response. So he did the one thing every horror story says not to do. He went in. The tunnel was cramped and narrow. Cool air rushed past him as he moved deeper, holding a flashlight in one hand and his camera in the other. The walls were carved, smooth, almost polished. But they didn't look like tomb walls. No inscriptions, no symbols, no art. Just long grooves running horizontally, like veins in stone. After about 40 meters, the tunnel opened into a room. He called it a room, but it was more like a cylinder, maybe 20 feet wide and twice as tall. He took a photo, but the moment the flash went off, his camera died. Batteries fully charged, just gone. He switched to his phone. It powered off too. Then the tunnel behind him collapsed. Omar stood in the dark, the air suddenly thick and metallic. He heard a soft clicking sound, like someone snapping their tongue in the back of their mouth. Then silence. No wind, no movement, just the pitch black hum of a place that had been sealed for centuries. And then a whisper, not a voice, not a language, just a dry sound brushing past his ear, like something ancient exhaling right next to his skin. He turned to run, but there was no exit, only a stairway going down. He didn't remember seeing it before. With no choice, he followed the stairs. Each step felt uneven, like it adjusted beneath his foot, shifting as he moved. He descended into another chamber. This one was lined with vertical stone slabs, each shaped like a door. But they weren't doors, they were seals. Smooth-faced stone panels, each with a narrow crack running vertically down the center. Then, he noticed something worse. One of them was open, barely, just enough to show a black space behind it. He approached, and from inside, he heard scraping. That's when the smell hit him. It wasn't decay. It was age, like the stench of time itself rotting in a closed jar. The scratching got louder. Closer. Then, through the tiny opening, he saw a hand. Small. Gray. Not quite human, not moving like a living thing, twitching in small jerks, as if being controlled by strings. He stepped back, and the entire chamber began to vibrate, low, pulsing hums, like a heartbeat under stone. That's when Omar noticed the carvings above the open seal. They weren't words, they were numbers. Arabic numerals, but out of order. 7-1 for 9. As he stared, the numbers began to shift, just slightly. 7 became 6.1, became 0. The countdown had begun. The stone chamber grew colder. Omar's breath fogged the air. The open seal in the wall, just a thin crack, began to widen with a soft grinding sound, stone dragging against stone. That hand inside, gray and twitching, was no longer still. Now it pulled, not forward, but backward, as if something deeper was reeling it in, or maybe retreating because it felt him watching. Omar turned to run, but the moment he stepped onto the stairs, his legs froze. He wasn't paralyzed, he just couldn't choose a direction. Down felt wrong, up didn't feel like escape. It felt like he was in the center of something vast and ancient, a machine built into the earth, and every step was part of a process he'd triggered. That whisper came again. Closer. This time, it formed words. Not yours, not yet. Then a thunderous crack from the chamber behind him. The other seals were beginning to split open. He bolted. No flashlight, no phone, just the faint glow of light behind the tunnel wall, glowing cracks like veins lit from within. When he reached the original tunnel, it had partially collapsed, just as before, but now it was wet. The desert air was gone. In its place, the smell of stagnant water and something older, mold, maybe or blood. He crawled through, scraping his knees, coughing as the dust and spores filled his lungs. And then daylight, not bright, not full sun, just a faint, dying light above. He pulled himself out of the tunnel like a man being born again. The wind had returned. The sky was gray now. The desert had changed, but he was alive. He didn't wait.
He left Qasr al-Farid without taking a single photo. Omar never submitted the article, never claimed the expense. He deleted the assignment folder, broke his SD cards, even burned the shoes he wore that day. But the story didn't end there. A few months later, his girlfriend found a scratch beneath his collarbone. Thin, pale like it had healed long ago, except she'd never seen it before. It was shaped like a number, the same number from the stone seal. He tried to ignore it, told himself it was coincidence, a dream, a buried trauma manifesting, but the scratches kept changing, numbers reshuffling. One day it was 7,148, then 7,147. Counting down, Omar stopped sleeping. He covered all mirrors, unplugged everything, and moved into a high-rise in Ammon 40 floors up, away from the ground, away from what might be beneath it. But every few nights, the air would grow cold. He'd wake to whispers and faint scratching sounds under the floor. He'd pour water down the sink, and it would run red for a second then clear again. He checked the pipes, the building, the water heater. Nothing ever showed signs of damage, but something was coming closer. The last contact anyone had with Omar was a voicemail he left for the editor who assigned him the job. His voice was shaking. Don't send anyone else. Don't look for it. There's more under there than the tomb. It's not a resting place. It's a static, an entrance. I wasn't supposed to leave, but I think it's following me anyway. It's not the place that's cursed. It's the opening. If you open it even a little, they can count you. And when the number runs out, they come looking. Omar disappeared in early 2020. His apartment was found empty, door locked, no signs of struggle. But his bathtub was full, not of water, of sand, fine, red dust. The same kind you only find in the deserts of northwestern Saudi Arabia. And carved into the tile beside the tub so faint it was almost missed were for small digits. 000.